All right. My name is Jack Rome, and I'm glad to welcome you to Meet the Speaker, a live series with cast members of the Awakening Mind film series who will also speak at the upcoming 3-day online immersive conference, The Infinite I Am, Awakening Beyond Identity in a World on Fire, taking place from November 14th to 16th. This series is designed to give you a brief taste of the direct experience that you can expect from each session during the conference. Helen Hamilton affirms that the truth of our being is very simple. Realization of the self is possible for everyone. Speaking from her own direct experience of the truth and using meditation, contemplation, and self inquiry, Helen gently leads students to their own direct realization of that which we already are. In Satsangs and through her books, Helen teaches a simple, practical, step by step method to transcend the mind completely and fully awaken to one's true self. So, Helen's conference session is titled Living as the Infinite I Am. So, Helen, thank you so much for joining us. And with this brief time that we have today, could you give us a taste of what your conference session will be like by perhaps encapsulating some of this teaching? Maybe first covering what is this I am, and also how we can begin to approach living as this infinite I am.
Well, thank you, Jack. I'm really, really glad to be here. And it's strange that you say, like, what is this I am? Because that was one of the most confusing things for me. And I'd read about it and heard about it in so many scriptures and teachers. And I think I was going crazy trying to figure out what this I am is. And, how do I live like that? So, um, what we're going to focus on in this session is really the what made the breakthrough for me in my own journey in terms of being able to live as this I am. That it was something really quite simple, and because it was quite simple, I was overlooking it. I think we all have a tendency to go with our mind and to think about something. And the more we want to know what we are, the tendency is to think about it more. And I think we all know where that goes. Um, a whole lot of thoughts. But it became clear that a shift of focus, a shift of attention to what was seeing those thoughts, what was aware of those thoughts, that there's something silent and infinite and vast that we could call I am. We could also call it awareness or presence or consciousness. And learning how to shift our focus to that isn't shouting for attention like the mind does, was a pivotal thing for me. So we'll do some meditation in this session to focus on actually shifting attention. Very simple thing to um, reset a habit that we've all been taught, which is to pay attention to thoughts first, as if they're the most important thing. This meditation is just a simple way of bringing attention back to what's real, this I am, because we tend to overlook it because it just feels like me. If I were to ask you, what is it that's aware of your thoughts, you'd just probably say, well, me. It doesn't feel special. It doesn't feel infinite when you first encounter it. It just feels like a normal everyday experience. Um, So for me, I had to learn to sort of bring attention to that deliberately and start to explore what it was, what it is, and it opened up and revealed that what this I is. If I say I'm going grocery shopping or I'm going, somewhere, I'm tired. The I is something very, very different than what we think it is. It's here we're calling it the infinite I am. But because of names like that, it can sometimes be hard to miss something that feels very normal. And as human beings, we tend to overlook the normal all the time because it's normal, it's ordinary. And in the meditation, we're going to bring attention to what seems ordinary, seems normal, and find that it's really something quite different, really something quite profound, something stable, something when we focus upon it, there's a lot of peace. And from there, when we learn to keep attention on this I am, whatever the mind is doing, it doesn't affect us in the same way. It's more like just a voice talking in the corner of the room, when usually it's front and center and it feels like mind is talking to me, and we feel pulled around all over the place. So we're just going to work with a very simple technique. Very simple. Even to call it a technique is not really. It's a bit too much. Just to shift attention to this I am and to just begin to experience it and immerse ourselves in it. Once we've had a taste of it, it's easier and easier to bring attention back anyway and find some kind of place that we can reside where there is peace, no matter what's going on in the mind and body. So that's really what I wanted to do with the time that we'll have in the conference. It made all the difference for me in my own journey. And it started to be that I could relate to my mind and my body in a very different way, from a much deeper place inside myself. And these old ideas about myself, who I thought I was, just began to fall away, um, as we're resting in that I am presence more and more. It becomes clear that a lot of that is just not true. If I think I'm not good enough, for example, or if I think I'm not safe, that's kind of blown out of the water if we see ourselves to be this infinite presence. I am presence. It's a whole different thing then.
Yeah, wonderful. It certainly comes across, at least for you, the way you describe it, that it's a gradual process, and we get the taste, and then we maybe apply that taste in whole different circumstances, situations. Could you describe like the texture of how that feels over time? I recognize that might not be something we necessarily think about, but at this point, when you reflect on the gradual process, what is the texture of that experience, of that process?
That's a good question. In my own journey, I was always looking for this big moment where I would suddenly shift. That now I'm going to be the I am, and it just, as you said, it was just so gradual that I didn't even notice that something had really shifted. It was only actually in hindsight when some strong emotion came up. I think it was some anger one day. And this strong feeling was, well, everyone knows how anger feels. And normally there would be this urge to push it away or something. And I just couldn't do that anymore. Somehow I had nothing inside that would push it away. And when I look back, something had been subtly shifting. Less and less was there any urge to. I think our sense of who we think we are is usually doing one of two things, and that is trying to keep something that we like or push away something that we don't like. And somehow that had gone as gradually. When it left, I don't know. Uh, so it was very surprising because I always had this idea that I will know, right? There'll be this big moment, where it's obvious that something has changed. But subtly, very gradually, day by day, as I was working with these practices, something profound had shifted in a very ordinary and quiet way. And I found that I just couldn't really resist anything anymore. It was a beautiful way to live and still is, and it's available for all of us. There's only the mind. I've nothing against the mind, of course, but it does try to analyze everything, and it's always trying to grab what what we do like. I'll have this peace and bliss, and I don't want this fear and anger. But in a way that's a undoing of that pushing and pulling, and just a more of a equanimous way of being with everything. So that's what we're really going to dive into, and it definitely was gradual. There's a huge myth, I think, in spirituality that there's this big moment. And we tend to hear about all those beings that had a big moment. And I did have some of those as well. But if I look at what really made the difference, it was this commitment to bringing attention back again and again that changed something profound.
Mm. Yeah, that's beautifully said, recognizing that, I, as soon as you said that, I imagined like a peak of a mountaintop. But if we're journeying, not necessarily up a mountain, but around a mountain, we're going to find peaks, but it's not because we were launched to the peak so quickly necessarily, but that it's actually a gradual step-by-step process. And then we're there at a peak, and it feels quite astounding. You know,
Mhm.
there certainly can be awe there, and I know I've felt that way myself. So I love how you put that because it feels like even then it kind of depends on the vantage point. But I really appreciate the gradual process that you describe because that's what makes it feel practical.
Yeah.
It's what makes it feel normal in the ordinary every day.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people waste a lot of time looking for this big experience. I certainly did. So it's nice to put that myth to bed that every day we're living more as the I am, and that there isn't really this big switch over. It's happening quietly in the background, and learning to recognize that is the key, because it's not always obvious.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate this conversation we've gotten to have. Is there anything as we're going to be going to the conference and going to your session in just a couple of weeks here. Is there anything in the meantime that would be important for those of us who will attend your session to be aware of, to look into, to reflect on, so that when we come to the session, we can sort of make the most of that opportunity?
Yeah, maybe just that we come with an open mind and heart, which I'm sure everyone has, but also just to consider that the most ordinary thing in our experience might be the most profound thing. But because of it seems ordinary, we might have a tendency to overlook it. And for me, a willingness to pay attention to what seemed, just this I am. Well, I am, no big deal, like obviously I am, and that sense has been with me forever. So the urge was there to skip that and not pay attention, but just that willingness to look again at something that is seemingly very normal, but actually something amazing. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think we'll leave it right here and we'll see you in a few weeks. Helen, thank you so much for your time and for joining us.
And thank you so much, Jack. I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to seeing you at the conference.
Okay, absolutely. Well, to everybody tuning in, we really do hope you'll join us at the Infinite I Am Conference. It's from November 14th to 16th for more direct experience teaching like this, and we'll dive deeper. And you can register for free actually at purepresenceconferences.com. So we'll see you there. Thank you again.